My name is Ellen Rainville. I'm one of the directors from the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium. We have a number of library directors here represented and some of our neighboring network libraries from Noble. We would like to thank the Friends of the Public Libraries of both networks for funding this breakfast. They have been our supporters for many, many years, and we are so thrilled to be welcoming trustees, legislators, aides, directors, and staff here today. We have a number of representatives and senators here with us today, as well as aides. So we have Representative Vargas, Representative Feingold, Senator DeZoglia, Representative Gordon. We have aides to the following reps and senators. The aides to Representative Golden, to Representative Nangle, to Representative Campbell, Representative Brad Jones, to Representative Feingold, and also to Representative Lombardo, as well. Senator Kennedy's aide is here, and I apologize if I've missed anyone because we absolutely want to acknowledge you and your advocacy for public libraries today. So I would like to introduce to you the director of our host library, the Tewksbury Public Library, and that would be Diane Giarusso.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Tewksbury Public Library. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary in this location this year. Yes, it is very, very exciting. It's a wonderful example of community engagement and of the power and results of the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program. Let's get Littleton and Westford off the waiting list. They need it. I'd like to recognize our local leadership in attendance, and I believe, I haven't seen Board of Selectman Kratman, but we have Stephen Sadwick, who is our Assistant Town Manager, here in attendance, representing both himself and our Town Manager, Richard Montori, who couldn't be here this morning. Do I introduce Rosalind as well? Or? Okay, all right, sorry. Well, welcome and thank you, and get something to eat, and get seconds and thirds.
So I already need to apologize. I said Representative Feingold and misidentified our Senator Feingold. So, so sorry. Of course, I think the legislators know what we're going to say to them about our building programs and our networks and our resource sharing and all the wonderful things we do. But we want to start with Rosalind and have her tell a patron story. So thank you for welcoming her.
Fellow library professionals, esteemed legislators, and beloved community members, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so honored to be speaking with you, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of my experiences at the library. Oh, shoot. The Tewksbury Public Library has been a central fixture in my life since I was a toddler, and I've been so privileged to experience the library as a patron, a volunteer, and an employee. I'd like to give you what I hope will be a brief history of my time at the library. When I was 2, my family moved to Tewksbury from Beverly, so out of Noble and into MVLC, and discovered TPL. Storytime quickly became an event on my social calendar because it was the perfect opportunity to get out of the house and provided free entertainment. Over the next few years, I made too many visits to count to the library after school. Mom would read me picture books until I could read them myself, and eventually I moved on to the easy readers before I finally conquered the chapter books. My first audiobook was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. My mom had picked it out to listen to in the car, and I thought I was too cool for Harry Potter. I was not. It was awesome. An 8-year-old me had just found her first fandom. I have a lot of really great memories of the library. During the summers, my brothers and I would go to family Fridays, like Fairy House Building Day. We would work together to build a tiny hut out of sticks and leaves until they started bickering and I struck out on my own. Robert Hayes was the first person to teach me how to use the catalog, so thank you, Robert. That opened a world of possibilities to me. But I think the memory that stands out most in my mind is playing book bingo during a school open house night at the library. I think I was 11 at the time, and I was always seeing the super cool big kids putting the books away. And I knew that you had to be 13 to be a volunteer, so I asked Miss Noel, can we lower the volunteer age? Because if you never ask, you never know. So she, being as amazing as she is, devised a sort of unofficial volunteer program. So that summer, I started helping out with the Family Friday programs, corralling families and preparing crafts. I really honed my face painting skills over the next few years, so if you have any face painting opportunities, call me. And eventually, I joined the prestigious ranks of the Shelvers. In 2016, I got my first real job when I was hired here as a page. I'm proud to say I passed the shelving test with flying colors. I did a few calculations, and I estimate that I've shelved over 100,000 materials in the past 2.5 years. It's been a long time. I have a party trick that I do where I ask someone to give me a 3-digit number, and I tell them what the subject is for that number in the Dewey Decimal System. I don't get invited to a lot of parties. I don't know where I could ever find a better education in customer service or interacting with the public. I get a really unique perspective on the library because I'm constantly in the stacks, on the front lines with the patrons, and I have seen a lot. On any given day, adults come in to read the newspaper or work on our community puzzle. Grad students do research and write papers. I know a girl who spent every single day of last summer studying upstairs in the adult section for the MCAT, and I really hope she passed. Our quiet study rooms are open to everyone from high schoolers working on homework and projects to legislators hosting office hours. The computers are open for public use. A teacher at the high school recently told me that a boy in one of his classes visits the library every day to do his homework because he doesn't have internet access at home. We recently started a partnership with our middle school down the street to have a bus run a few days a week to the library. Every Tuesday, a group of 7th grade girls come to hang out in our new teen space. They do their homework and they gossip, and it's adorable, and I really wish I had had that opportunity when I was their age. Around the same time, we host a job seekers network in this room where people can get career advice and work on their interview skills. This isn't your grandma's library anymore, except it is because we have so many great senior programs. Our newest addition to the library is a yellow belly slider turtle named Hardcover. You might have seen him on Twitter. He has way more followers than I do. When kids come into the children's room, they no longer run right to the computers or the iPad because they want to say hi to Hardcover. If there's anything I've learned in my time at the Tewksbury Public Library, it's that libraries are the most community-oriented spaces in the public sphere. The library doesn't discriminate. It doesn't judge you on your ability to pay or your citizenship status. It's one of the last places where community members from every walk of life can be together without barriers. With over 2 million available items throughout the library system, we're promoting equal access to knowledge and, consequently, opportunity. I'm a really big Aaron Sorkin fan. I love The West Wing, but I also like one of his lesser-known shows, which was called Sports Night. It aired in the 90s. So I ordered it through the Commonwealth catalog, so thank you, Norfolk Public Library. It arrived here within a week through our delivery system, and I loved it. And finally, I got to the last episode, which is titled Quo Vadis. Now, as a Latin student, I can tell you that that means, where are we going? I think about that phrase, quo vadis, a lot, and I hope you will too. And I hope that together we are going into the new age of libraries. Thank you.
Rosalind, thank you so much. So I would like to introduce now the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, James Lonergan, to tell you where we are going.
Thank you. Good morning. I first have to apologize. I'm getting over a cold, and I can't quite hear too well, so I'm hoping I'll try to enunciate clearly as well. Again, good morning. Thank you to everyone who helped organize this breakfast. Thank you to our legislators for your continued support of the Commonwealth Libraries, including the budget lines of the MVLC and its affiliates, and for the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program, which provided a $2.3 million grant to this library about 20 years ago. It's a beautiful library, I should say. In the MVLC strategic plan, our mission statement stresses our role in leading the statewide system of libraries in order to provide every person in the Commonwealth with equal access to outstanding library services. It also stresses our role promoting innovation and collaboration and helping position libraries at the center of civic life in their communities. We do this working with our affiliates and partners with the Massachusetts Library System. You'll be hearing from Sarah Segigian in a moment about all the great work they do. With the Boston Public Library and its role for the library, as the Library for the Commonwealth, with the Perkins and Worcester Talking Book Libraries, the Massachusetts Center for the Book, and the 9 automated networks, including MVLC. So I just wanted to review the handouts we've provided. As you can see from the fiscal 2020 legislative agenda, we are emphasizing three items this year. The first is 9401, State Aid to Regional Libraries, which funds the Massachusetts Library System and the Library for the Commonwealth. And also our Library Technology and Resources Sharing line, which is $7,095.06. And our final is actually on our final focus this year is on the capital side, which is our Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program. So 7,094.01 supports MLS and the Library for the Commonwealth. MLS provided delivery of approximately 15 million items to libraries across the state last year. It funds statewide databases in partnership with the MVLC, and it provides training, consulting, temporary staffing, and much more to help its 1,600 member libraries, which include academic, school, public, and special libraries. The Library for the Commonwealth provides access for all Massachusetts residents to collections, including ebooks, databases, downloadable audiobooks, and digital magazines, also statewide reference and research assistance, education and skill building tools, and through the Digital Commonwealth, access to cultural heritage materials held by Massachusetts libraries, museums, archives, historical societies. So as you can see from the back of this handout, line 7,094.01 is actually down 41% from its high back in 2002. However, costs for one of the major activities covered by this line, statewide delivery, have increased 45% just since 2011 and now take up 60% of the MLS's budget. Because of this, some libraries no longer receive delivery. There are delivery delays, and last year some libraries paid for the sorting process for the first time. Funding for this line is critically important, particularly for strengthening our statewide delivery program and for making it sustainable for the future. Line 7,095.06 primarily funds our automated networks, including the MVLC, and a portion of the statewide databases and electronic resources that we provide in partnership with MLS, including trusted resources like the New York Times, the Boston Globe, encyclopedias, and journal articles. The networks provide online catalogs that give users access to the 53.5 million items available from member libraries across the state, as well as databases, ebooks, and streaming audio and video. Many networks also provide high-speed internet to member libraries, which patrons use to apply for jobs, conduct research for school projects, or to start small businesses, to sign up for health insurance, or register for government programs, and to do so much more. In some parts of the state, these high-speed internet connections are sometimes the only ones available in town. For many low-income households, libraries provide the only source of access to computers and the internet. So while libraries pay membership fees to belong to networks, lack of funding for this line has forced networks to increase these fees. Our funding used to support, MVLC funding used to support about 30% of membership fees, network budgets. Now it's down to about 15%. And despite the much appreciated $718,000 increase received in this line for fiscal 2019 for the current fiscal year, total funding for this line is down 36% from the high in fiscal 2001 of $4.4 million. So our other funding priority this year is the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program, and you have a handout for that as well. And it includes a list of the waitlist libraries, which does include both Littleton and Westford on our waitlist. This program has funded over 250 new or renovated and expanded public library buildings in the Commonwealth since 1987. In addition to the many jobs these projects bring to local communities during the construction phase, municipalities continue to see economic growth in the areas surrounding new or renovated and expanded library facilities long after projects are completed. We are requesting $250 million in new bond funding to fund 18 of the 19 projects. We believe we actually have the funding already to fund Littleton, which is good news. And also to fund our next planning and design and construction grant rounds. 40 municipalities have expressed strong interest in applying for construction grants in our next grant round. We're also requesting to increase our cap, our annual cap. At the moment, it's at $20 million. That's the amount we can expend each year on construction projects. The problem with the cap staying at this level is it would take way too long, I believe it's 2028, to be able to actually start to get through the project. So we really want to shorten that, because the longer it takes to start projects, the higher construction costs go up. The other documents I just wanted to point out really quickly, a lot of folks find this one helpful. This just gives you an overview of the entire interconnected system supporting libraries in the state and who does what. And I should point out, it's with state and federal funds as well, federal funds from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. So finally, I just wanted to point out that while most other state agency budgets are back at or near their historic highs, and again, despite the much appreciated increase in fiscal 2019, the total for our budget lines is down 22% from fiscal 2001, from $34.6 million to $27 million in this current fiscal year, when adjusted for inflation, down almost 46% from fiscal 2001, according to the Massachusetts Budget and Policy Center. The budget for all our lines is just under 0.06% of the Commonwealth's total budget. We have heard legislators say that if they don't hear from us, they think things are fine. Please tell them your stories about how funding for the MVLC and its affiliates impacts your library users and communities. Thank you.
Thank you, James, so much. There's so many ways that we all help each other, and I'd like to just acknowledge that Representative Dave Robertson has arrived, and Isabel Vargas, aide to Representative Frank Horan, I believe I've got correct here. The Mass Library System is one of the other infrastructures that helps all of the 347 libraries in the Commonwealth assist each other. And Sarah Segigian is the interim director and will be sharing the highlights of that service with you.
Good morning. Thank you. I usually don't get a response. Thank you. So thank you to Ellen and Diane, to the Tewksbury Public Library and the Legislative Breakfast Committee for planning today's event. My name is Sarah Segigian, and I am the Interim Executive Director of the Massachusetts Library System. Betsy Meaden is also here. She's our Business and HR Director. Hi, Betsy. MLS provides critical services to our members, and I encourage you to take a look at our handouts. They're available on your tables. We've had a phenomenal year, and I'm pleased to share some of our record-breaking statistics with you. We also like to say that MLS funding equals local funding. So we've created handouts that sort of show the value of MLS membership to each municipality. Those are available at the registration desk on your way out, and if you have any questions about them or would like to follow up, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. MLS supports the fiscal year 2020 library legislative agenda. Library funding has not kept up with overall state funding or rising costs. State funding is critical, and adequate funding will ensure that we can continue to provide services that help save money and provide equitable access to library resources for all who live, work, and learn in the Commonwealth. All 7 lines, the 7 that James had mentioned previously, work together to make this all happen. But today I'd like to focus on budget line 9401. MLS provides nearly 1,600 public, academic, school, and special libraries in the state with timely and cost-effective services that save Massachusetts residents money. For every dollar invested in MLS, we return more than $7 in value. I'd like to take a moment to recognize one MLS service in particular, statewide delivery. MLS needs a significant increase for funding to line 9401 due to increased costs for statewide delivery. Earlier this decade, when minimum wage increased from $8.50 to $11, MLS faced a $1 million shortfall, and that forced reductions to the delivery service, electronic resources, consulting, and training services. And as you may know, member libraries in particular felt the cuts made to delivery and the loss of the opposing viewpoints database. We also lost capacity to provide training and consultation services felt keenly by small public libraries who rely on assistance from MLS and other statewide partners to serve their communities. MLS did not receive any additional funding to absorb the costs of that minimum wage increase. And we face a new challenge today. We applaud the efforts of the legislature to work towards a livable wage for Massachusetts residents. However, this new increase to minimum wage from $11 to $15 an hour, coupled with the other elements of the grand bargain, will add another $1 million to our shortfall. The increase to delivery costs means less money for other resources and services we provide. Delivery costs have gone up 45% since 2011, and our funding has not kept pace with these changes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I invite you to learn more. I'll be around after the breakfast and also always by email, phone call, whatever you'd like, to talk further about these critical services our libraries really rely on. And I'd like to leave with one final thought. A colleague of mine said this at a breakfast last year, and I'd like to repeat it today for my closing remarks. Libraries aren't asking for more money, we're asking for enough money. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So we do know that the agenda has a number of alphabets and initial acronyms there. So the most important thing for us to share with those of you who aren't in the library world is we're all cooperating, we're all collaborating, we're regionalized, we're all about economy of scale, and as Sarah said, we're all about return on investment. Most of the directors in this room are in the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium. Probably every library in this room has packed or unpacked a bin full of books that has traveled with the Mass Library System delivery system. But to tell you more about how we network is Eric Graham, Executive Director of the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Diane, for inviting us to your beautiful library today. Welcome legislators, municipal employees, librarians, trustees, and of course our representatives and senators. My name is Eric Graham. I am the Executive Director of the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about what the library networks do and how critical the state funding is for our organizations. So the librarians in the Merrimack Valley engage intentionally and meaningfully with their communities. Our member libraries have made their institutions hubs for educational, economic, and civic opportunities. And together, our members face challenges and leverage opportunities to improve library service in the diverse communities that make up the Merrimack Valley. We serve 36 public libraries. Our member libraries are our owners. We were created in 1982 by our members as a nonprofit corporation to help them serve their communities. And the way that MVLC does that is by providing a comprehensive technical infrastructure for our libraries. Our libraries use MVLC for forum for resource sharing. We provide an integrated library system that helps our staff members acquire, process, loan, manage, and share their inventories of physical and electronic materials. MVLC's automated systems provide the technological infrastructure that allow patrons to request and obtain physical materials from the varied collections of our 36 members. MVLC library patrons have access to almost 1 million unique titles and more than 3 million items. We all know libraries are connecting residents of the Commonwealth to digital resources, ebooks, audiobooks, research databases, music, streaming video, and magazines. MVLC works with our members to manage a shared collection that is available to the citizens of the Merrimack Valley 24 hours a day. We provide high-speed internet connections to our member libraries, as well as email, text, and even automated telephone services that allow libraries and patrons to communicate. The 9 resource-sharing networks in the state, including MVLC and Noble, receive grant funding from budget line 709506. The funding for this line is down 36% from a statewide high of over $4.4 million. Last year, we made some progress. We moved up to $2.8 million in funding, but we're still not fully funded. So this underfunding has forced MVLC to push more of the costs of supporting our organization from the state and local to the local level. James let you know that most networks in the state funding comprises around 10 or 15% of a network's budget. Here at MVLC, it only comprises 7.85% of our budget. We've worked hard where we are frugal, where we are smart. We have smart members, and we've managed to figure it out. But we shouldn't have to. Now imagine what our libraries could do with more funding. If they're this frugal, if they're this smart, imagine if you gave them more money to spend, what they could spend their money in. To me, that gives me goosebumps. Increased funding will do a few things. It'll allow our libraries to increase their bandwidth. Right now, only 5% of Massachusetts public libraries meet the national bandwidth standards set by the FCC. We need this funding to meet this standard, and competing in the 21st century requires 21st century technology, and our state funding allows us to acquire that technology. And because not everybody has high-speed internet in their home, it's even more essential that libraries are able to fill this critical need for their patrons. The restoration of our funding would mean that MVLC librarians would be able to provide more internet bandwidth to their patrons through their high-speed connections. Our libraries improve the lives of the citizens in the Commonwealth by providing free access to technology, physical and electronic collections, and so much more. Just imagine what we can do with more increased funding. I thank you kindly for your time and attention, and especially your continued advocacy for public libraries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. I think we can see how hardworking all our librarians are because they're sick and hoarse. And those of us who have recently gotten over it are full of sympathy. So there are a number of past presidents of the Massachusetts Library Association in the room, and this is our professional association in the Commonwealth that supports libraries and also advocates for them. And I'm asking Nancy Maloney Hill to just say a few words from the Massachusetts Library Association.
Thank you, Ellen. Good morning, and thank you all for coming out on this beautiful day and joining us for this legislative breakfast. On behalf of the Massachusetts Library Association, I want to remind you that our work does not end this morning with breakfast. And so we would like to invite you to our 2019 Library Legislative Day, which will be held at the State House on March 5th. Registration begins at 9 a.m. and the program will begin at 10 a.m. You don't need to register to attend. However, we would appreciate it if you do because we will be providing lunch that day. And so it's nice to know how many people will be coming. You can register online at the Mass Library Association website, which is www.masslib.org, or you can see any one of us this morning. We're happy to help you as well. Again, thank you.
So I would like to just thank once more Diane and the Tewksbury Library for being our host. I would just encourage all of the wonderful legislators who've joined us to remember how our founding fathers really understood that literacy and learning was a part of the democratic process, and the public library is a unique American institution that grew out of the values of our founding fathers. We want to thank all of the friends who have helped support us, and we also want to thank all of the executive directors, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. We want to thank the Mass Library System, MVLC, and MLA. And we want to ask you all to go forth and remember that a small amount of money will be a huge return for all of the citizens of the Commonwealth, because we are all in it together, and we're relying on you to help us do it even better. So thank you all so much.